The Spurs saw their 5-game winning streak snapped in Phoenix. Was this loss actually good for the team?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Happy Tuesday, by the way. Hope you're having a great day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You want to go download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. So what are we talking about today? We look back at the Spurs loss on the road to the Suns. Was it a good loss? How did the players react? What did the Suns do to slow down Wemby? He had himself one of his worst outings in his young career. We're talking about all that and how, look, we get it. They're not going to win all 82 games. It never happens, right? But some of the players, they sounded pretty good about the loss. At least one player in particular, we're going to highlight his quote and then talk about the injury that happened during that game to Dylan Harper. What does this mean for the Spurs moving forward? We have a loaded show. Let's go to bring in our guest. He is back, everybody, with the sports answer, Mr. Rudy Campos. Follow him on X at Sweet League. And Rudy, you are generational in our book. I know you're going to use that word in a bit. So heads up, everybody. Rudy might be on one in a few seconds. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. And, I never use generational, not even in my own terms. I'm not generational at all. So, yeah, you're going to put me on the hot seat again. And that's, of course, going to cause all this controversy.
You did it to yourself. You brought it up to me the other night. So, but we had to talk about it. But we're going to talk about that and more. Again, he is with the Sports Answer. Check it out on YouTube. Just type in the Sports Answer, subscribe. He'll brag about that in just a few minutes. All right, Rudy, let's go back to Sunday, and the Spurs picked up their first loss of the season to the Suns. I think at one point the Spurs were down by 30-ish points. I mean, it got ugly. No perimeter defense. Suns pretty much made every open shot. Wemby was a non-factor. Yeah, I never thought I would say that in the game, but yes, Wemby was a non-factor, scoring just 2 points in the first half. Yeah, it was wild. The injury to Harper, more on that later. Steph Castle was the shining brightest player. But overall, I think, Rudy, and again, I would love the Spurs to win every game. I would love them to make history, go undefeated in this season. But we know that's unrealistic. And starting the season hot, 5-0, was good for the team. I think it helped build confidence. That's great. But I think the loss was good for the Spurs because it added in some humility. I think they needed to be humbled a bit. I think they needed to understand that they can't just walk on the court because we got Wemby, we can beat everybody. I think this type of loss and how they lost is good for the team and their maturity. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. The thing is that it shows that the guys that are on the, I guess not necessarily injured list, but are out right now, how important those guys are. When you have Wemby with an off night the way that he did, this is where a guy like Luke Cornett, Kelly Olynyk come in. They are able to provide maybe some type of spark. You saw a little bit of how there was some struggle at the guard position. This is where De'Aaron Fox is in as that veteran leadership that you would need. So these are the types of games where, yes, it's very humbling, very humiliating, but it's a good loss. You have to understand you got to learn to lose before you can win. These are bumps in the road. So they're not going to win 82 games. Obviously, they're not going to go 82-0. But again, it's losses like this that you have to learn from. Overall, I mean, probably just an off night overall by the Spurs. It's going to happen. I mean, you're going to technically you're going to get bored, playing 82 games in a year.
Right, yeah.
So this is just a game where, hey, you know what? 5-game winning streak, you get that first loss. Maybe you were overlooking this team getting into that Lakers game. So who knows what it could be. It's not a big deal at all.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. The world's not ending. The Spurs season's not over. No, they should not go into tank mode already. You have to start now at 5-1 of the season. Yeah, they got a tough test tomorrow in Los Angeles versus the Lakers. We'll talk about that in just a few seconds. But what I took away from this is that it didn't really rattle their psyche too much. Heading into the road trip, this 2-game road trip, they were aware that, look, there may be some losses down the horizon, and we proved it the other night in Phoenix. They were aware that they're going to have some couple of tough outings. Devin Vassell, after one of the first 5 games of the wins, he even said we know we got a road trip against the Suns and the Lakers. So they saw that coming, and I'm glad they were aware of it. But it's not just you and me, Rudy, that see the good in the bad, the good in a loss. Even Stephon Castle. And I'm going to bring up Stephon Castle, Rudy, because on the Lockdown Spurs roundtable show that we do, how dare I bring up that the Spurs need to get a loss to add in some humility, right? I got Spurs fans coming at me saying, wow, you're not a true Spurs fan because you don't want them to go 82-0. It's not that. I just think this bodes well for a young team that was riding high. So to back up my point, I'm going to bring in what Steph Castle had to say. Here it is. Here's Steph Castle. After the loss to Phoenix, he says, I feel like we kind of needed this. He's talking about the loss, Rudy. I feel like we were starting to get a little comfortable. Again, learning some humility. Learning that you can't just walk on the court and win. He goes on. So this was kind of a wake-up call for us. And I think Steph Castle summed it up good there. Wake-up call. Because, Rudy, this team was getting applauded coming out of the gates. Oh, my God. They are finals bound. They are going to be a threat in the West. And they still are. They still are. But they were getting kind of like, they're getting pumped up, man. They were getting some gas. They're getting some gas pumped up them. When you hear, and I'm leaving it on the screen for you to read, Rudy, Steph Castle, what he had to say after a loss, this is good. I think this shows, again, the sign of maturity.
Yeah, it does show a sign of maturity. And sorry, the thing is that it's good to lose. And this is the thing you got to remember. When you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And they have been playing with fire lately. Let's not, let's be real. They got away with the win with Brooklyn. They got away with the win when it came to Miami. They've had some close calls. Eventually, those games were going to catch up to them, and they were going to get burned with the fire they were playing with. It's a very, very good quote by Stephon Castle. You got to bring it down sometimes. You're thinking MVP, and if NBA, Spurs fans are thinking NBA Finals, you are way ahead of schedule because this team really is not finals bound just yet. But again, they've got to get through these losses. They got to understand, hey, we're 5-0. We're world beaters. We are tied with OKC atop the Western Conference. We can conquer anything. Well, no, not all the time. Because not only that, you have a long 82-game season. You're going to continue. You're going to have bad nights. You're going to have good nights. You're going to have nights where you're tested. This was a night where it was just nothing was working at all for the Spurs. But again, if you are an NBA guy, you saw this coming with the last few games that they were playing. They were, being dominated by teams like Brooklyn. They were being dominated teams by a short-staffed Miami Heat squad. So you saw the struggles already. They were lucky to get those wins, and it just kind of caught up to them here in Phoenix.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. Sure, the Spurs had a 5-0 start, but if you dig deeper into those 5 wins, an overtime game versus the Pelicans, blowing a 20-something lead to the Nets. There were already signs of, hey, there's still work that needs to be done. Now, good for them. I guess the biggest sign is obviously got the W, and they were able to find a way to win. That is good. So the good outweighs the bad in those first 5 wins. But in the loss, I think it just also showed them that this is still a team that is a little work in progress. One, they got to bring the intensity every night. After the game versus the Suns, Mitch Johnson said, you come out flat against a team like the Suns, well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose. So again, a learning lesson for this young team. Let's do these lessons now early so they don't bite them in the butt when it matters. And hopefully it will matter when this comes to playoff positioning, play in or not play in, postseason as far as 1 through 6 slots in the West, all that good stuff. But credit to Steph Castle. He led the team with 26 points in the loss. That really was a good moment there. I like the fact that he was really beefing with Devin Booker. Those guys were jawing the whole night. That was good to see. But one player didn't really bring his A game, and that is Victor Wembanyama. When we get back, did the Suns expose how to handle Wemby? Is the book out? Let's talk about that right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of the Sports Answer.
Yeah, let's talk about game time. Basketball season is officially here. Nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right out before checkout. Hey, it's easy to get frustrated when it's all you want to do is just cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in. The app gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets, fast, easy, and free. You can use the Game Time app to grab seats for your San Antonio Spurs. It'll be simple. You can get the great seats in minutes. You'll love what you see because there are no hidden fees at checkout. You can even look exactly at your view before you even buy the tickets with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you say big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Rudy Campos of the Sports Answer. He is joining us today via audio only. He's a busy man. So we don't tell anybody that he's really at work, everybody. Okay, let's keep this between us. All right, don't tell anybody. All right, he's really at work right now. But he stuck out some time to join us here on Locked On Spurs. So again, the Spurs got their first loss to the Suns this season, 5-1 to start the season. Still a damn good record for your silver and black. Losing to the Suns in Phoenix, 130-118. In that game, though, Victor Wembanyama did not have himself a Victor Wembanyama game. He had like 2 points at half, 9 points overall. You know, he had his blocks, just was a bad shooting night. After the game, he said that, look, all teams go through this. You know, you don't have good shooting nights. You can't, connect on every shot every game. But the Suns, after the game, they were asked whether or not they figured out how to slow down Wemby. So here's what they had to say. Get your thoughts on this, Rudy, here. Let me pick it up here. So this is from head coach of the Suns, Jordan Ott. He was asked post-game, like, what did the Suns defense do to take on the challenge of keeping Wemby, from being Wemby? He says, don't let that catch be easy. So right away, they said, okay, make sure that any passes he gets into the paint or wherever his soft, sweet spots are, don't make that easy. He said, go on to say, quote, tonight was a good test of how we protect the paint. And it was a good job overall. Interesting moment, a quote from Mark Williams, the Suns big, who had the big assignment to take on Wemby. He says, quote, throwing a bunch of different looks at him, making his life difficult to the catch. Our rotations were pretty good out of his passes. And a couple of times during the game, Rudy, we saw they trapped Wemby, stripped the ball from him, just pickpocket him. Do you think the Suns figured it out, or it was just one of those games? There was should we pump the brakes and be like, all right, calm down, Jeff? No, the Suns didn't figure out bleep, which is one of those games for Wemby. What do you think?
So physicality has always been the biggest thing when it came to Wemby. If you're going to play against him, you got to be really physical against him. Now, he did bulk up. He did add weight. He did a lot of off-season training, which we have seen him being more physical and able to take more physicality. But it's kind of like what the Phoenix Suns said. You've got to deny his entry pass. You got to make it tough for him to catch the ball. Once he does, you kind of got to trap him. So it's always kind of like back in the day. I'm going to go way old school here with the Golden State Warriors when Rick Barry was the guy there. If you could take Rick Barry and have the rest of the team beat you, you kind of took that as a win right there. Similar to what we saw Phoenix do. In other words, we're not going to let Wemby beat us. He's already an MVP candidate throughout the season. We're not going to let him beat us. Hey, you guys around him, Steph Castle, Dylan Harper, you guys are going to have to beat us if you want to get this W. Seems to have paid off, but again, 6 games into the season is really still too early. If this is the exact way you're going to be able to stop the Spurs, I would say if it happens a couple more times, then you start to see the trend kick in a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think it's just kind of a one-game thing.
Yeah, me too. I think it was just a one-game thing. We'll see how they respond tomorrow night in Los Angeles versus the Lakers. And but as far as Wemby is concerned, look, even the greats had bad nights. Tim Duncan, it wasn't Tim Duncan every night in his career. The Admiral wasn't the Admiral every night in his career. Same thing for Manu and Tony, the list goes on and on. They're all going to have bad games. This was just one of those things for Wemby. But I'm glad it did happen to Wemby, though, because, again, we're talking about the team maturity / humility. I think it gives him a little chance to be humble, too, that teams are going to get up for them. As a matter of fact, Steph Castle said they're already feeling that other teams are playing up against them because of Victor. They want to bring their A game because of Victor. And if they understand that, he should understand that. and bring his A game, or at least best of his possibility that he can every game. Now, it's tough. Look, these are pro players. We have Devin Brown on Locked On Spurs Family now. He talks about how it's rough to come up every game. You got to fight through the pain, fight through maybe you're just physically tired, back-to-backs, the rigors of the NBA season, but you got to bring it. And I think that's what you're going to see throughout the season, Rudy. Teams trying to disrupt Wemby's sweet spots, disrupt the passes into him, play physical with him. Even though he added some weight, that's his frame is still long, and you can get his lower center of gravity and kind of push him out if you have strength like a Mark Williams did versus the Suns. We were talking about Wemby here. Do you predict a big bounce back game versus the Lakers tomorrow?
Yeah, I was talking to Derek Garvin, who's also on the Sports Answer, and the first thing I told him after the Spurs game, I said, I fully expect Wemby to have a really big game against the Lakers, probably close to have another triple-double. It's just, it's something that they have to learn. Once you kind of go through this experience, you see what Phoenix did to him. It's up to Mitch Johnson and that great coaching staff that he has to make those adjustments for him. Hey, if you're not able to get the lob here, you're not able to get the entry pass here, maybe we'll do an off-ball screen, get you on top of the key. They're going to make the adjustments. So I fully expect them to bounce back. And, I'm thinking maybe a 20-14 type of game would be, 25 plus, 14 if they got on plus game for Wemby. But I fully expect a bounce back game.
Yeah, me too. What a note, though, before we transition away from this and look at Dylan Harper and his injury. Interesting, during the game, the last game versus the Suns, the Spurs, they were shooting the ball from the three ball, that is, lights out. They were like high 30, like a little over 35%. And the Suns, they slowed down their three-point shot. As a matter of fact, coming into that game, the Spurs ranked 10th in the NBA in three-point shooting at 38%. Versus the Suns, they shot 10 of 41 on three. So that's not a good percentage. You can do the math already there. But the Suns, they really had solid rotations, closed out on three shooters. And that's something we talked about yesterday on Locked On Spurs. Get your thoughts. Rudy, is three-point shooting still a concern for this team, despite their 5-1 start?
Oh, yeah. They've got to get better shooting from the perimeter, especially beyond the arc. It's a concern. And if you're going to live by the three, you're going to die by the three. You've heard that many, many times.
Yeah.
They're still not consistently knocking down that three-point shot. They've got the players to do it. It's just kind of a concern as to why they're not able to knock it down still. But season's very, very early. We haven't even hit the first quarter of the games yet. So anything could change between now and then.
Yeah, exactly. I still think it's a concern. Champagny, been playing okay. He's been playing good, but again, the consistency could be an issue. We'll see how the season plays out. Of course, Wemby, he's taking fewer threes this year so far. That's good, but give him his credit though. He can hit them, so there's that. But overall, just you never like a loss. They're competitors. They're pro athletes. They want to win every game. We get that, but sometimes a loss can go a long way for a team that came out hot to start the season. We'll see how that bounce back versus the Lakers. He is Rudy Campos of the Sports Answer. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. When we get back, talk about Dylan Harper. Yeah, the young kid. He got hurt. What does it mean for the Spurs?
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into the same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps everything exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Hey, Spurs season is underway. Might as well jump on the action over at FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first 5 bet wins. So, head to FanDuel.com. Sign up right now. Play your game at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
What's up, guys? This is KG Tang, voice of Sanami Shinizugawa and Demon Slayer, and you're watching Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
One guy who's not on the IR right now, and that is Rudy Campos of the Sports Answer. He has joined us here on Locked On Spurs via audio today. Busy man, he's at work, so we'll respect his time and get into the next topic ASAP, and that is Dylan Harper. Young man, yeah, he got hurt during the game versus the Suns, calf injury. He returned to the bench, did not play after the injury. It happened in the first half, but he did come back in a boot. And it was, you just see, he was wearing a boot during the rest of the game. Whew. I expect all of a sudden Fox to come back very soon. Now, what do you think the ripple effects of Harper's injury is going to be?
Oh, it shouldn't be too bad. I think it was more just a precautious type of thing. It's kind of the same thing he went through when he was at Rutgers. I think he had a foot injury at that time, and he was in a boot for a while. But repercussion-wise, I mean, I don't see any repercussions from it. I think they're going to maybe give him a few games off, or just kind of get healed and repaired, ready to go. But I think we may see De'Aaron Fox here in the next couple of games. So couldn't really be too concerned with it unless something comes out in the next day or so that this injury is a lot more serious than expected. I don't see very much happening at all. He's going to bounce back. He's ready to go. I think it's just more of a precautionary thing.
Yeah, after the loss to the Suns, Steph Castle was asked his thoughts on Harper. And one, he said he didn't see the injury. And two, he said he expects him to play tomorrow night versus the Lakers. But again, he's not the team doctors. He's not the coaching staff to make that decision. As a matter of fact, he said, I didn't even know how to answer that question. So he expects his teammate to be on the court. But I think the type of injury, that calf injury, could be an issue if they don't let him rest. I'm not going to be surprised if he does not play against the Lakers tomorrow night in Los Angeles. I think the Spurs are going to Spurs, and they're going to let him rest maybe an extra game or two. They have a wealth of guards from Castle. I'm not going to be surprised if all of a sudden Fox is back and off the IR and into the lineup. But overall, look, if you're like a guy like Jordan McLaughlin, you're still going to be called upon to play some steady minutes. As a matter of fact, I spoke to Jordan McLaughlin earlier this season, and he told me that that ahead of the season that he and Mitch Johnson already talked about him getting playing time. And then all of a sudden, that became more of an emphasis when Harper got hurt in preseason, and of course Fox being out to start the season. So, and he's been playing very steady. Very heady veteran player, just a guy who knows his role, who's going to set up the offense, very traditional point guard. And I think that would be good for the Spurs. But yeah, you hope this injury is not too much derail maybe a chunk of his rookie season. I don't think it will. But the boot, man, that had me concerned. Rudy, talk about a calf injury here, and these calf injuries can be problematic. What do you think?
Yeah, they can kind of linger throughout the season. And I think that's, like I said, I would probably surprised if he does sit up against the Lakers. I think it's going to be a couple of games to kind of give him some rest, kind of stay off that foot. I think the boot. Yeah. I mean, personally, I'm going to say the boot's is not very concerning. I think it was just more precautionary to kind of keep the leg stable and steady. But yeah, calf injuries can linger. You got to be careful with them. So I would say, again, probably out a couple of games if he's back. And that means it wasn't as serious as we originally expected. But I wouldn't cause too much concern.
Man, it was not a fun night in Phoenix. You got to lose it by 30-something, getting outshot. Booker was cooking. Spurs were not hitting any shots. Wemby was not being Wemby. Harper gets hurt. Yeah, you want to forget this game versus Phoenix and move forward. Hopefully the Spurs will do that with a win in Los Angeles. But as of now, this recording, everybody, just a heads up again, the Spurs have not announced, any, secondary analysis on Harper's injury. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on that. He is Mr. Rudy Campos of the Sports Answer. Rudy, what is the Sports Answer? Why should people go check it out?
Yeah, so go to YouTube, hit Answer Now TV. You want to subscribe here so you can get myself and Derek Irvin on the Sports Answer. On Sundays, it's the best 30-minute sports show in San Antonio, so you don't want to miss it when it comes out on Sundays. We talk football, basketball. Sometimes we go down the vault and we open the vault and we actually go to some old school sports talk. So yeah, it's just a great fun time for 30 minutes. It's on the Answer Now TV on YouTube.
There you go. Go check it out. Again, that is the Sports Answer. That's all of San Antonio cheering for Rudy and the show there. I've been a guest on there. It's a very fun show. Again, Sports Answer on YouTube. Rudy, thank you for taking time to your busy schedule. joining us today, at least via audio. We'll get Rudy any way we can. I'm glad he hopped on this episode to give us his 2 cents on the silver and black. Everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kim's 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know what to do. Subscribe right now. Become an everydayer. And if you're an everydayer, keep on being that everydayer that you are. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow as the Spurs season continues. Likely look ahead at the game versus the Lakers, all that fun stuff right here on Locked On Spurs. Check out Locked On NBA. It's on YouTube. Just search Locked On NBA, then hit subscription and subscribe, and you're good to go. Check out everything that's going on in the rest of the NBA world. So for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.